Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. I'm joined today with Chris Garner, myself, Tayte, and we are going to be going through and reviewing the 2017, I guess, biopic of some sort, Disaster Artist, which is famously, I can already say, about the film The Room, which is from 2003. This is actually an adapted screenplay of a film, adapted from the book made by Greg Sestero, one of the actors in the actual original Room film, and Tom Bissell. So yeah, Chris, we did the drunken review or drunken watch along of The Room last night, which I have to say was quite entertaining and quite fun.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and I do want to point out to viewers that Chris has not seen the film.
I did try, folks, and more so than any other film this year, this one has really let me down because I really did want to see this movie. Um,
Yeah.
I mentioned this at the beginning of our drunken watch along of The Room yesterday, but I went to the cinema yesterday, day of release. I had a screening at 1:15. I get there, I say, one for the Disaster Artist, please. And they tell me they hadn't received the film, so it couldn't even be screened. They gave me a voucher for a free ticket, which was very nice of them, but I get my tickets free anyway. So yeah, and because of work and other commitments and stuff for the rest of this week and before this review, I couldn't get to see this movie. So I'm relying on you for this one, Tate. I will be asking questions.
Yes.
I've seen the trailer a number of times.
That's fine. That's fine.
I know of the background of the film, having watched The Room last night. So
Um,
I guess, do you want to kick off first, like just sort of like a general overview based on
Yeah,
trailers?
sure. So the trailers started coming out a while back, like 5, 6 months ago, maybe a bit longer even. But there's been a lot of hype behind this film way before any of the trailers came out. Like as soon as people were saying, "Oh, they're going to possibly try and adapt the Disaster Artist into a film," and then James Franco got involved and said he was going to write, direct, produce, and star in, just like the original Room
Yeah.
film. Which basically just everyone was on board with it. I think the first shot we saw of him, or the first time we heard him try and do the voice of Tommy Wiseau, Wiseau. I still don't know how to pronounce his name even after this film. But he seemed to have nailed it. And all I can say from a non-spoiler perspective is that he totally nailed this character. He went really, really deep into the character of Tommy Wiseau, and it's an amazing kind of method acting performance where he became him. Even when they did, I think, interviews on the film circuit, going around doing the media stuff, they sat themselves down together and they were so similar in their mannerisms and everything like that. It was so ridiculously good. I think genuinely, if we're looking now, this is possibly going to be one of the first Oscar films being brought out in the Oscar film season. So we obviously have some which are like long shots which are out of season. So Dunkirk, we've got Blade Runner, we have Logan, Mother, maybe even War of the Planet of the Apes. This is probably the first Oscar film for Oscar season. And I can say immediately off the bat, I think this is going to be nominated for Best Picture.
Really?
I think it's going to be nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. I think it's going to be nominated for Best Actor. I don't think it's going to win Best Actor. I think that's still going to be probably what's his face? Churchill would be Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman and Daniel Day-Lewis. That will be.
I think Gary Oldman's going to finally get it personally. But after seeing this film, he's got to be nominated for Best Actor. It'd be a crime if he wasn't.
Well, that's kind of. I was going to go with my first question there, but you've kind of answered it. So I know that Rotten Tomatoes isn't the be-all and end-all of movie review things, but it's nice to get a frame of comparison. Currently, on 163 reviews, it's sitting at a 94%, which is way more than I expected. Because one thing that because you kind of answered my question. I was going to say, do you think this could be in the running to be in the Oscars? Because I've seen reviews across the board have been absolute critical acclaim on this thing, both with like the film itself and with James Franco's performance itself. From the trailers, especially, I guess it's because you've got Franco and Seth Rogen in a movie together.
Yeah.
We know what kind of movie they usually make. I wasn't sure on the tone of the movie. Obviously, it's got lots of jokes in there because Tommy Wiseau himself is kind of a joke in the whole event surrounding The Room. Is it like that style of comedy all the way through, or does it go a bit more into it?
without really revealing the plot too hard in the non-spoiler section, it is about how people view Tommy Wiseau. Almost the entire film obviously it's about the filming of the film The Room, but it's more of an in-depth character study, if anything. Like, we focus mainly on his relationships with everyone around him and how they develop, how they break down, and how that affects the film itself. There are a lot, and I mean a lot, of guest cameos in there, including, without spoiling it, the very start of the film, they get a bunch of celebrities up on screen, giving their own personal accounts of why they think The Room is one of the best accidental films of all time, which is quite good.
Yeah.
I don't think they were probably forced into doing that. I think they probably came up with their own like words and stuff like that for it. So it's really well done. The entire film itself, it's just a really well put together film. It's a likable character in every sense, with Tommy Wiseau, and just everything in this film felt complete. It really did. It didn't feel like it's the normal kind of Oscar baity film. It felt like a film which was very well done, very well acted, and I think it's going to pick up some buzz for it, obviously. Maybe because of the irony of it being about the worst film ever and it being nominated for the best film of the year. But like in the what's-it-called, Golden Globes, at least, this is going to be directly up against Get Out for best comedy or musical. I think this will probably win it.
So what audience do you think this film's going for? Is this for the typical Seth Rogen, James Franco crowd, or would you say this is literally just for people who are aware of The Room, want to know a bit more about Tommy Wiseau's history? Or
this is very much, this is not like Pineapple Express. I'll put it that way. It's not a stoner comedy. It's not in that sense in any way, shape, or form. It is a very subtle comedy, I would say.
So do they still have, because I think with James Franco and Seth Rogen, they do a lot of improv in their comedy, in their films. Is there a lot of that?
I feel like there is a decent amount of improv in this film, but I'm pretty sure that it would have come straight from Tommy Wiseau.
Right.
Tommy Wiseau, in fact, commented on James Franco's performance by saying the only thing that he got wrong about my performance was my ability to play American football, or to throw a ball.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's...
So he has spoken out about this movie then?
Oh no, he's been all over the media circus about it. Like, he has been going on like all the media tours with them and everything like that. He's been appearing on talk shows like Stephen Colbert and all the late night shows in America. I feel like it's probably going to kickstart his career in some sense. But no, he's like, James Franco has always stated, I'm doing this for me, but I'm also doing it for him. Because this film really, it shaped the way that I act, like I've looked at films and everything like that.
As I say, you can kind of tell that with Franco, like, this was personal to him. Like, this was a part he genuinely wanted to play and give it his all. And it sounds like he's done that. This
film felt like a passion piece. Yeah, really did.
Which in itself was like, which was like Tommy Wiseau when he made The Room, right? Like, that was a passion piece. So it's a nice parallel.
But I reckon I can't really say much more without spoiling it. But
I have one last thing to say then, like one last question before you can get into spoilers. Obviously, your recommendation. I'm looking at the supporting cast. So you've obviously got Dave Franco in there, James Franco's brother. You got the likes of Seth Rogen and Alison Brie, who we know from Community, if anyone's watched that. A bunch of other things.
Funnily enough, Alison Brie plays James Franco's boyfriend in the film, and they are married in real life.
Are they really? I didn't know they were married in real life.
Dave Franco.
Dave Franco. Okay. What are the supporting cast like? Is it kind of like a walk away with James Franco up here and everyone's kind of down here, or do the other characters get stuff to do as well?
Dave Franco has almost the same amount of screen time as James Franco. Seth Rogen is only really seen on set. Alison Brie is only really seen at home. You have random appearing characters like the person who plays Peter from the Hunger Games franchise plays Denny, which I think is the absolute perfect casting for that. His name is Josh Hutcherson. And seriously, like I was just like, oh my god, I couldn't have cast anyone else as that role. We have Zac Efron playing Chris R, who appears in like 3 or 4 scenes, but it's so funny. Like, he really goes into that performance in those very brief moments. But genuinely, I mean, it's a great cast. It's just a really well acted film. I would suggest obviously seeing The Room before seeing this film.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see this film and then watch The Room afterwards. I would see The Room first, then watch this film. It'd probably make you appreciate it a bit more. And I definitely appreciate the film The Room a lot more after seeing it yesterday and after seeing this film. There is one moment where you might start to tear up. I could feel the feels starting to come, but I was calm. It was all good. But yeah, no, seriously, I would highly recommend this film.
But I mean, you've
To anyone.
touted this to be nominated for Best Picture, so that's definitely got my interest. I think I'm hoping that my cinema continues to screen it because I mean, with Star Wars coming out next week, they're probably going to be devoting a lot of the screenings to that. Then I hope they don't push this movie out because
Along with Death of Stalin, this is one of the best out-and-out comedies this year.
yeah, I still need to see Death of Stalin. My local cinema didn't screen it. I really need to find a new local cinema, I feel.
Chris,
So
I reckon we go into spoilers.
yes, so if you didn't hear already, this is going to go into spoilers now with Disaster Artist. If you want to see the movie first, go and see that so you don't get anything spoiled, and then come back to our review afterwards. I mean, I don't know much about. I know as much about Tommy Wiseau's history as I have from a Wikipedia page. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm okay with spoilers, but go for it.
So in this film, it shows the entire process of the starting of him basically faking a streetcar named Desire scene of him shouting "Star" over and over and over again, and that catches the eye of Dave Franco's character who's playing Greg. And they become friends. They move over to Hollywood. They say they're going to make it big, and it's quite interesting. Things that I knew kind of influenced the film, but I didn't know had such a big impact. James Dean being probably the biggest impact on this film. Funnily enough, one of the lines from James Dean's film was "You're tearing me apart," and I never realized that. Like, I never made the connection in my head.
Okay.
So that it wasn't like a parody that Tommy Wiseau did in the film. It was a homage, and everything that he did, he wanted to make it seem legit. And because he made it try and seem so legit, everything came off very fake.
I was just checking what movie that was from. Of course, there's Rebel Without a Cause, 1955.
Yeah.
You're tearing me apart.
And like the influence of him throughout the entire film, he is the one connection between the two Franco's characters, because they always say, we got to be like James Dean. We're going to make it one day. And even if we only put out 3 films, people still remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say there's a nice scene where they kind of make a promise to each other that they're going to be in the film industry together and they're going to push to achieve their dreams in front of where his car crashed. They actually go to the crash site of where James Dean car crashed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of nicely well done in that. The film is split up into, I'd say, 3 different parts. It is pre-Hollywood, I would say, maybe, or coming up with the idea for the film. You then have the writing and filming of the film, and then you have the aftermath. Because I didn't realize that Greg and what's his face, Tommy Wiseau, did not get on very well in set in the end. In fact, they stopped speaking to each other for 8 months after the film was made, as in the film obviously made. And the only time they spoke to each other after that was just before the premiere and at the premiere itself.
Wow.
And there was a big rift in the film, which is all about personal relationships breaking down and the dedication to the filming art. Johnny being the one saying, you can't have anything on the side. You just got to go for the film as much as you can, and that should be the only thing that matters to you because it is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave, obviously, his character, he wants a life outside of it. He wants a career possibly on afterwards. This film isn't everything to him. It's everything to Johnny, though.
Mm-hmm.
In the film. But because of that, like, the entire film is just a reflection of Tommy Wiseau's dream of making it big. And I think there's even a scene where the cast sit down and they talk about the conspiracy theories behind the film, what the actual film The Room means. And they're saying, oh, so Johnny is the hero and his dream and what he wants to accomplish. And Lisa and everyone else in the room are the barriers that are holding him there. And in the end of the film, Johnny, the character, gives up, but the director and the direction of Tommy Wiseau carries on through. Weird, cool
nice.
theory. No, seriously, this film, I can't recommend it enough.
So I was going to say, like, with regards to, you said like the third part of the film is sort of like the aftermath of the film. Does it deal with like the critical? Well, actually, I don't know. Like, did people love it immediately, or was there like that huge critical backlash against it?
The critical stuff that came from the film. So it ends with the premiere, and at the premiere, the film starts. People don't like it. Like, people are starting to kind of scream in their seats and like gasp and stuff like that. The first sex scene, like 4 minutes in. And then after maybe half an hour of the film, people start to laugh and people start to enjoy it. And people realize this is so bad, it's actually funny.
It kind of sounds like the whole producers thing with like Springtime for Hitler, where they're all like shocked at it and then they start to enjoy. Yeah.
And because of that, this is the moment probably that I'd say was starting to get feelsy, because everyone else in the cinema is laughing. All the set and production crew, they're laughing. All the people who've just walked in and want to see the premiere is laughing. But the only person who isn't laughing is Tommy. And Tommy's just kind of sat there watching his creation, which is meant to be a serious piece, and everyone's laughing at it. And everyone is laughing at him. And he kind of stands up and he walks out of the cinema like a little break. And we have Greg come up to him and kind of say, like, we made it. It doesn't matter what they kind of think or say. We made the film, and look, people are enjoying it. It may not have been what you wanted it to be, but this film would be remembered.
But it's found a new identity and a new audience. Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
The film ends with some actual footage of Tommy Wiseau, like going around doing the midnight screenings and stuff like that, and showing this critical acclaim. I didn't know, but the budget for the original The Room film was above $6 million.
Yeah,
it is definitely made back, like, by a decent amount, its original budget. So it's a profiting film, surprisingly.
Eventually, down the line, yes.
Well, here's the thing. On its opening weekend, it only took $1,800.
Wow.
But, like, his legend lives on. I mean, there was news which I posted into the Cinema Savvy chat saying that he wants to either star or direct in a Star Wars film. So he's still relevant within the film industry, and I think it's summed up perfectly by one of the things that one of the people said at the start, by saying, people aren't talking about who won the Oscar in 2003. People don't remember. People will not remember who acted in whatever film and however much money one film made in that year or in the last decade. But people do remember this film, and people love it all the same. And I think that's kind of the perfect reflection of what this film is all about.
I'd say he's probably one of the most recognizable names to like any person who's vaguely knowledgeable about film and The Room itself. And that's sort of what we were talking about yesterday in our conclusion to the video, that, you know, regardless of what you say, this film does have a legacy and it does have an impact, and that's clearly shown through in all the casts. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say. I really want to see this film now. Like, I wanted to see it anyway, but hearing you talk about it, like, I definitely need to get to this movie as soon as I can, preferably over Jumanji 2, in all honesty. But I think I'm at Jumanji 2 this weekend. I'm gonna try and get to this movie if I can. Absolutely,
you definitely should. I feel like it's probably getting a pre-release now, and then it's probably going to be re-released back when the Oscar season really kicks in, maybe mid-January, maybe February.
I've got quite a lot of films to catch up from this year, and I really don't want to add this one to the list. Like, I want to get it watched now, as quick as I can. Hopefully my cinema still screens it next week, and I'll try and get to it then. Final recommendation, and I guess we'll round off. This is probably going to be one of our shortest reviews.
Final recommendation, go see this film. Just go see it.
And watch The Room as well.
Yeah, like, definitely.
Tentatively watch The Room.
In fact, no, what you should do is you should go and watch our drunk watch along of The Room whilst you're watching The Room, because we make it bearable. So
there's a little bit of homework involved. You need to go and buy alcohol first, as long as you're above the age to drink. I'm not condoning underage drinking or anything like that. But yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I'll leave it to you for the outro then, Tate.
Yes. So be sure to comment. Have you guys seen The Room as well? Tell us your thoughts on that. Be sure to like our video, obviously. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. You just search up Cinema Savvy, will probably appear up. We are also on Instagram, where we're going to be starting to post a bit more often with cinema_savvy. So make sure to follow us on there as well. And yeah, I guess that's it. And we will see you in our next review. Latest.